Hi all, Rick here. Now I try not to revisit topics I've already covered unless I have something new to add, either missed info, new lore, or even a new angle to bring a tale to life, and the Briar Patch has secrets yet to tell. The Klingon Empire has known of the Briar Patch for much longer than the Federation, considering Starfleet first encountered it in 2154, before there even was a UFP. The Empire called it Klach D'Kel Brakt. Arik Soong named it the Briar Patch, and name sorta stuck. It was located in Sector 441 of the Beta Quadrant, and over its time passed through Klingon and Federation hands. More on the actual history of the area in the previous mentioned video. On star maps, the real star of Z Geminorium, or Alzir, of the constellation Gemini, was located here. It formed out of the remnants of numerous supernovae, suggesting that billions of years ago it was a stellar cluster, and stellar remnants are littered throughout, such as the numerous mixing nebulae. Within the gaseous expanse of the Briar Patch, a speed limit is imposed on starships of 1/3 impulse, as the engines can strain against the effects of baryonic matter and the general composition of the area. This can be compensated for with specialist systems, but those absent of the benefits are regulated for the ship's engine's own health. One of the many quirks of the area sees it filled with force vacuum fluctuations, which is a frankly terrifying prospect. The general idea of a force vacuum has nothing to do with the lack of air, but refers to the state of energy throughout the universe. In basics, because quantum physics is complicated, the idea of a force vacuum state is the opposite of a true state, and we're unsure what our universe is currently in. A true state is a stable and lowest possible distribution of energy stability, where a false state could be one that only appears as such. Here's a metaphor that helps me visualize it on a very fundamental level. Imagine placing these blocks end to end on a surface. This is the true vacuum state, the point at where the lowest possible energy has created stability. Now if we apply pressure here, aka some external force, we can instead have these blocks elevated, but they still appear stable. However, this is a false vacuum state because as soon as that false stability, my pressure, is removed, collapse to the real, true vacuum state. Now imagine this with the universe and reality itself. So, I assume false vacuum fluctuations are therefore areas within the Briar Patch where the spread of energy temporarily peaks to another state, ultimately changing how physics functions within that area, and if the energy levels fall, then hopefully they are falling into an unstable state that is not a true vacuum state, because if it ever does, then we may have a universe-ending time bomb just sitting there. At any minute, the universe might glance up at the newly discovered true state, then you'd get a cascading effect across all of reality like a bubble of this new state of being, and the universe we'd be left with would probably not look nor function anything like it currently does. Now, the most known phenomenon of the patch is the metaphasic radiation, especially in how it reacts with the rings of the Baku colony, but we'll get to that. Metaphasic radiation is generally hazardous to your health, as it likely affects the DNA of living matter. However, while advertised as exclusively harmful, this was in fact part of Admiral Doherty's cover-up story, as under certain conditions the radiation was in fact beneficial. It reversed cell damage when properly filtered, and the Baku planet's ring system acted as the perfect distillery for this ambient effect. It would not affect those still in adolescence, however, again suggesting that a certain level of growth was required before the effects kicked in, which they also did across numerous species, human, Baku, Klingon, Beta Z, and so on. The practical upshot of which is that so long as an individual is exposed to this type of metaphasic radiation, the aging process slows to a crawl, injuries repair, and even scars heal. However, the effects are not permanent and require continual exposure, as once leaving the field, old injuries return. Fortunately, you don't age up to make up for the lost time. Despite experimentation, the effect has yet to be replicated, with the only known method being to capture the radiation from the Baku system, showing that this seemingly natural phenomena was beyond the current understanding of Starfleet science. In apocryphal stories, archaeological studies of the planet revealed the presence of preserver ruins deep under the crust of the planet, termed the Undercity, and powered by this same metaphasic radiation that was altered by the planet's rings. And in fact, the entire setup was deliberate. It was around 5 billion years old, and this outpost was a scientific one designed to engage in genetic study, long since abandoned in whatever calamity or event led to the vanishing of the preservers. According to the game Hidden Evil, it was their own experimentation that led to the creation of the Xenophore seed, crippling their species and leading to a conflict that almost wiped them out. The seed could create its own monstrous lifeforms that were hostile to everything not them, and a rapidly spreading threat. The preservers were the same people as the ancient humanoids, and some small faction continued on in an attempt to curate the myriad of humanoid lifeforms they had sired. As of 2375, the full extent of phenomena and other secrets have yet to be discovered, and it serves as a ripe playground of tales and future strangeness to experience. So, thanks for watching this look into the deeper secrets of the Briar Patch. I've been Rick, and until the next video, thanks again, and goodbye.